Hello and welcome to the Coffee and Heroes show. This is the first in a series of weekly shows brought to you by myself, Alan, the owner and operator of Coffee and Heroes in Smithfield, Belfast. So what we're a comic book store and coffee shop. So what we do is we stock the latest new releases, which come out every Wednesday, which is new comic book day. So there'll be new single issues, new graphic novels. We get new merchandise in all the time as well. We also carry a back catalogue of comics as well, going back 30 or 40 years, broken down into DC, Marvel, Indie, lots of choice, all bagged and boarded, all treated with care and respect, as they should be. But we also have a coffee shop element to us as well. We have a sitting area in the store. The idea behind that is that we like to try and create a community aspect to our store. You know, we have tons of regulars who come in, lots of people who just sit and it's nice to chat and relax and, you know, just talk about the latest pop culture news, that kind of thing. So the thing is, obviously not everybody can get to the store. So what we wanted to do was create a online community aspect as well. And this show is sort of the first step towards that. You know, in addition to this show, we do have a podcast, I should say, as well. A Coffee and Heroes podcast. Again, you can find it through Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can find it through SoundCloud, plenty of other platforms as well. But I really wanted to try and create even more of a online community aspect. I wanted to have comment sections, people to, you know, chat about the latest news, chat about the latest releases, reviews, that kind of thing. It is very much with people in mind who can't make it to the store, unfortunately. But, you know, the comic industry at the moment, it's probably bigger than it's ever been. You know, between the movies, the extended Marvel universe, the DC movies, between Netflix shows, between, you know, there's so much content out there right now that's based on comic books. You know, you only have to look at this summer, where unfortunately we're, you know, having to go through this COVID-19 situation. And obviously a lot of movies are being pushed back. I know we were scheduled to have Black Widow, we were scheduled to have Wonder Woman. These movies are being moved. But you look at Netflix and they're launching a new one called The Old Guard, which is based on a great graphic novel series created by Greg Rucka, who is on board the movie as the sole scriptwriter. So, you know, there's content out there for based on comic book stuff everywhere. So again, I just wanted to sort of create a show where we could look at the latest stuff, you know, chat about what's been coming up. And I thought this was the perfect time to launch it because from a personal point of view, we're about to hit 3 years open for the store. So it's sort of a nice anniversary for us. You know, we like to think that people are enjoying what we're doing. So this seemed like a nice step to continue with. And also the fact that the Snyder Cut was recently confirmed. I thought that would be a good place to sort of start. This is very much a divisive piece of news. You know, we've people in the store who welcome the news. We've people in the store who maybe aren't quite so taken with it. You know who you are. But, you know, from my personal point of view, sorry, I had to get a coffee plug in there. From my personal point of view, it's something I'm very much looking forward to. As you can see, I'm a fan of the Snyderverse now. Justice League at the moment is not a good movie. That poster is the best thing about it, just because it's based very highly on a classic Alex Ross painting. So I thought they were doing all the right things, but obviously it was a movie that was embroiled in controversy. It had directorial changes, it had composer changes, it had script rewrites, it had reshoots, it had mustache gate, it had, you know, mandates coming down from those above that it had to be under 2 hours long, when I know Zack Snyder had planned for it to be 2.5 hours plus. You know, it came off the back of Batman v Superman, which again was, you know, divisive to say the least. But again, it's another example. You know, Warner Brothers cut that movie down and it didn't do so well critically. It did well. It did good numbers at the box office because, you know, it was Batman and Superman. Of course it was going to. But, you know, they released on Blu-ray a Ultimate Cut, which is essentially a Snyder Cut, you know, before Snyder Cut was a thing. But the thing with it was it added an extra half hour to the movie. Now, if you were in a scenario where you were trying to bring people to see that movie and give it another chance, if they saw the theatrical cut, the last thing they would want to do is watch it if it was another half an hour longer. But it really added to the movie. You know, it showed Clark Kent as a reporter. It showed Lois as a reporter. It showed much more of the desert stuff at the start. It showed Lex manipulating the pieces behind the scenes a lot. And it was just a much better all-rounded movie. And I'm a big fan of it. Anybody who knows me is probably sick of hearing me chat about it. But, you know, I just think that if they had released that cut first, Yes, it would have been longer, so they would have got less showings per day. But I think the word of mouth would have been better, and the movie maybe wouldn't have been harmed so much. Uh, so with this Snyder cut of the Justice League coming up, so it's been long rumored ever since, pretty much since the movie came out. You know, it's in one form or another. Zack Snyder's been releasing stills. The actors have talked about it. People have talked about maybe seeing the cut of the movie, that kind of thing. Zack Snyder showed off, a collection of film reels which said Snyder Cut, saying it's real. But a lot of people just thought this was just teases. It was never going to be fully realized in any shape or form. It was just like, let it go. We've cast a new Batman with Robert Pattinson and Matt Reeves taking over the direction of the Batman movies. We haven't done any more Superman stuff. Flash has been a stop-start movie for a long time. So, I'll be honest, I was always intrigued by the Snyder Cut because I'd love to see what was planned with it. I don't think it's a scenario where if it came out and even if it was absolutely brilliant, Warner Brothers would suddenly drop all their other stuff. I'm looking forward to the Matt Reeves, Pattinson stuff. I think Nolan and Christian Bale already proved that a self-contained superhero universe and a trilogy can work. You don't necessarily have to link it all together. So I'm looking forward to that. But I always wanted to know what was going to continue with the Snyder stuff. I've enjoyed the DC movies by and large because they're different to the Marvel movies. I've enjoyed a hell of a lot of the Marvel movies as well. But Marvel have already excelled in that four-color popcorn fare. And I don't think DC's a darker universe, by and large, I think. Obviously, there's dark characters in the Marvel universe as well, the likes of Punisher, Daredevil, a lot of the street-level stuff. But a lot of the time with Marvel stuff, it is, more embroiled in that Saturday morning matinee type style. With what Snyder did, which was sort of off the back of what Nolan did, was try and imagine a real world where these, superheroes existed and what would be the consequences of that. So you had Man of Steel, which was a darker look at Superman, not knowing his place in the world, not wanting to reveal his identity, becomes a bit of a drifter at times, unsure how to use his power, what's the responsible way to do it. And Man of Steel I'm a huge fan of. I think that movie it's close to perfect. I know a lot of people had problems with the ending with, Superman killing Zod. I had no problem with that. It was well set up within that universe. It was a case of, Clark choosing Earth over Krypton. Zod even says, like, if you kill me, you kill Krypton, essentially. And even though Superman's making that sacrifice to be the last of his kind, he's still prepared to make it to save people. It's the right thing to do. The score in Man of Steel is superb. It's well cast. It looks great. I'm a Batman guy first and foremost. I'm a big Superman fan as well, but I'm a Batman guy. But even though the Nolan trilogy is sort of the holy trinity of movies, I don't think there's one moment in the Batman trilogy that is as good as the first flight sequence in Man of Steel. It's just so much joy and hope and optimism, that Hans Zimmer score, and it's just absolutely incredible. So it is. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with the Snyder Cut. There was an article, I'll just bring it up here. I think it was published through Variety, and it was discussing the Snyder Cut. And the thing is, we've been thinking that we've been listening to a lot of conjecture, a lot of rumors. We've sort of thought this isn't going to happen, but this has actually been being worked on behind the scenes quite a bit. And let's just pull it up here. Here we go. So yeah, this was a really, really good article. So the thing is, this news got released a couple of days ago. Zack Snyder, what he's been doing during lockdown is he's been doing a couple of different sort of watch throughs of his movies. And the first one he did was BVS, the Ultimate Edition, which, much to my other half's annoyance, I sat up until 4 a.m. watching along with the watch along with Snyder, and there was lots of good insights. It was essentially a director's commentary, but it was also filmed as well, and he showed off storyboards and ideas he had moving forward. He did one for Man of Steel, and at the end of it, he had sort of like a few different fans come on and ask questions and all this kind of stuff. And of course, one of the fans couldn't help themselves. They just said, when are we getting the Snyder Cut? And he said, well, I can't show you it right now, but I can show you this. And he showed a picture of, it was a black and white picture of a Justice League poster that was released with, the whole league there. And it was in black and white. And it just, said below it, Zack Snyder's Justice League, only on HBO Max. So this is where the plot thickens again. So HBO Max is a new streaming service coming up, as if we don't have enough of those already. But HBO Max is in conjunction with Warner Brothers and with DC. So for example, they've got a Justice League Dark property in development with J.J. Abrams at the moment. They've got a Green Lantern series in production. So a lot of people thought this would be a good place to put the Snyder Cut on. You know, it would give it that exclusivity. Fans have been looking forward to it, people wanting to see it. And it doesn't surprise me that it's HBO Max, because I don't think they're going to roll out a big, massive theatrical push for this, because the movie's had its chance already to a degree. But people will always be curious about those what ifs. You know, it took a long time to happen, but there was the Donner cut, you know, of Superman 2, because that was another movie he, you know, left halfway through, and then someone else came in and finished the movie off. So with HBO Max, they have the likes of The Sopranos on there as well, The Wire. I believe they paid a specific deal for Friends, a show that has not aged well, if you ask me, but you know, it's obviously a massive property. So what was interesting about this article essentially went into detail, and it had interviews with Zack and with his wife and producer Deborah Snyder, and they talked about, you know, the fan clamor's been there for a long time. They had ideas, they didn't get to finish their movie. You know, it was you know, for those who don't know, it was a family tragedy. Unfortunately, Snyder's daughter committed suicide, and you know, ever since, Zack Snyder's done a lot of charitable causes and fundraising for, you know, anti-suicide charities and stuff like that. So the thing is, he tried to throw himself into the work of the movie to, you know, move away from personal problems, but he couldn't. So Joss Whedon came in, and you know, the movie changed dramatically, and you know, so Snyder never quite got to finish that, and I always was curious to see what he would have done with it. So the news of this is great, if you ask me. I think it's even for those who doubt it, you know, this is a no-lose situation for people who are like, look, it's a crap movie, leave it alone. If it's great, happy days, there's another great superhero property in the world. If it's terrible, oh, well, we were right. You know, there's no downside to it, and in a sense, you're giving the fans what they want, instead of them building up this mythical, you know, what if in their heads about how great this movie could be. What they're actually doing is showing you, and you know, you're no longer left to wonder. And with all this lockdown and everything that's happening, and obviously filming is not happening for, you know, obvious reasons, you know, this is the kind of thing that they can do. They can give people what they want in a different way. So the idea, from what I can tell, is that it's done as 2021. Zack Snyder has gone on record saying that Warner Brothers are going to give him between 20 and 30 million to finish the movie. So that will allow them to finish practical effects, finish special effects, bring some actors back if they need to loop dialogue, maybe even film some new scenes. I don't know the full, you know, how far it will go, but you know, it's Zack Snyder has said in its current form it's 4 hours long, and there's even rumors of it maybe being cut into like a 6-part mini event TV show, I suppose. So my hopes are high for it. You know, a lot of people are very negative about it, and they're sick hearing about it and whatever else. That's fine. They don't have to watch it. It's pretty simple, but don't deny those who do want to see it and want to see what happens with it. Don't deny them the chance to see it. So yeah, I just wanted to have a good wee chat about it, and you know, sort of give my thoughts on it. As I say, I don't know whether it'll necessarily fix the movie. It might still not be a great movie. It might, you know, DC were in a bit of a rush, or Warner Brothers, I should say, were in a little bit of a rush to, you know, put this team-up movie together, try and get some of that sweet, you know, Avengers, Marvel Universe money. They didn't maybe take their time as much as they could have. But, you know, I still want to see it. I'm really curious about it, and I dig Affleck as Batman, and, you know, more Superman stuff with Henry Cavill can't be a bad thing, and yeah, I say bring it on. So yeah, that was the first thing from this week I sort of wanted to have a quick chat about. So I wanted to chat about The Old Guard as well. I mentioned it briefly earlier. The Old Guard, we're big fans of it in the store. You know, we did a book club on it for our podcast, went really, really in depth with it. So it's a property owned by Image Comics, and it was originally released in 2017, 5-issue miniseries. They then started just towards the back end of last year releasing a sequel to it, which is called The Old Guard Force Multiplied. And it's the middle part of what writer and creator Greg Rucka wants to be a trilogy. So I should say as well, co-creators Leandro Fernandez on art duties. Greg Rucka is well known in the comics industry. You know, he's created things like Lazarus, things like Black Magic, but he's also worked on Batman, he's worked on Wonder Woman, he's worked on Daredevil, he's worked on Gotham Central, which is a personal favourite series. And then Leandro Fernandez, well known for Punisher Max, Deadpool. So these guys have been around for a little while, and they created this series, which was the story of old soldiers who never die. We love these sort of tales of immortality, things like Highlander, stuff like that. So the Old Guard, what's essentially about is a close-knit group of, sort of immortals. They can die, they just don't know when they're going to die. And there's a base level of them all together, and they do jobs together. They stay out of the limelight as it's the way to survive, especially in the modern world where, there's cameras everywhere and, people and facial recognition, all this kind of stuff. So they essentially come across a new person who would join their party, so to speak, and they're certainly the youngest of them all. But of course there's nefarious government elements who want to harness this immortality and monetize it and all that kind of stuff. Really great stuff, really grown-up, action-oriented storytelling. And they dropped the trailer for it this week, and I have to say, hopes are high. First off, I should say Greg Rucka got brought on board as the screenwriter, which can only be a good thing, when you actually bring people from the comic industry who understand how to tell a story, they understand 3-act structure, they understand pacing, and to bring them on to adopt a property that they're already so ingrained in is a great move. It's directed by Gina Prince Bythewood. Admittedly, a director I'm not too overly familiar with. She's done a few things: Secret Life of Bees, Beyond the Lights, Love and Basketball. But the cast is really, really encouraging as well, I have to say. Charlize Theron's playing the main character, Andy. You've got Chitwell Ejiofor on there. It's a really, really good looking cast. And the first trailer dropped, and I have to say, again, very impressed. Sequences look to have been lifted straight out of the book. It seemed to be a case of sticking close to that source material because it clearly works. And the good thing is, I can understand that if you're adopting, an ongoing series and you have to try and whittle that all down into a 2-hour movie, that kind of thing. But when you've got something that's a 5-issue miniseries, it's essentially the length of a movie anyway. So it actually works out really, really well. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. And in a weird way, it's sort of become the only superhero movie to look forward to this summer, due to, the unfortunate situation we find ourselves in with COVID-19 and theatres closing and so on and so forth. So yeah, really, really looking forward to that. So what else we got? So we got Christopher Nolan just dropped a new trailer for Tenet, randomly released during a Fortnite match. I'm old, I just don't understand the appeal of Fortnite or releasing trailers that way, but it's sort of hard for me to give a comment on, simply because Tenet is, that's the second trailer. It's currently scheduled for a July release, but Christopher Nolan movies he's one of the few directors left who guaranteed, I will be there opening day, my butt is in a cinema seat, that's that. So the less I know about his movies going in, the better. By and large, trailers, they're designed to get you anticipating a movie and get you looking forward to something. But with his movies, I know I'm going to be interested, I'm going to be enthralled, I'm going to see something original, I'm going to see something made with care. And I did the same for all his movies. I tried to avoid trailers. I would maybe watch the first one and that was it, but now I just try to avoid them at all costs. So I will be there opening day. It is currently due for a July release. Whether it'll stick to that, I don't know. Nolan is trying to stick to his guns with it and try to revive the whole cinema scene, which is understandably on a break at the moment given the COVID-19 situation. But whether it keeps that date, I don't know, because as I say to everybody, this whole thing, it could last another week, it could last another 6 months. You just don't know. We just all have to play our part and hope that it passes sooner rather than later. But yeah, I'll look forward to it anyway. It's a Nolan movie. I'm there. So there was that. What else did we have? We had Ruby Rose leaving Batwoman. Haven't watched any of it. Did watch the crossover and I quite enjoyed her in the role, but I haven't watched any of Batwoman, so again I can't really comment on it. Though I did notice that there was a little bit of a online campaign, shall we say, for Rosa from Brooklyn Nine-Nine to take over as Kate Kane. I would be on board with that because Brooklyn Nine-Nine's awesome, Rosa's awesome, kick-ass cop, kick-ass character, job done. But again, we'll sort of see with that. What else we got? Yeah, there was a bit of a random news story this week as well. I know Sony are always trying to expand the Spider-Man universe. They've actually brought in Mark Guggenheim, and he has a big background in live action stuff. You know, he's been heavily involved with Flash, with Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, that kind of stuff. And he's been hired to pen a script for Jackpot, a film about a guilt-ridden, crime-fighting mom with exceptional strength. I don't know. I mean, I understand with Sony obviously doing Venom. I understand them doing Morbius. There's a character I'm not overly familiar with, but at the same time, maybe that's not a bad thing. You know, you go in with no expectations. You know, I always cite Guardians of the Galaxy as a great example. No one had a clue who the Guardians of the Galaxy were. No one had a clue going in what that movie was going to be. And it turned out to be, in my opinion, in Marvel's top 3 movies, and it's still there. Just a great, great movie. So, slightly less faith in Sony Marvel Universe, but then again, Into the Spider-Verse is incredible. And I watched Venom again recently. You know, I saw it in the cinema, and I thought it was awful. And I watched it again, and I still don't think it's a great movie by any means, but slightly better than I remember. So, yeah, that was announced this week as well. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it when it comes to sort of the movie side of things. In terms of comic books and so forth, you know, obviously comics are our business, and it's going through a bit of a tough time at the moment. The industry was on pause there for a couple of months. Release dates keep being shifted and moved. Marvel are slowly starting to dip their toe back into printing. They moved a few series to digital only, really annoyingly, with Hawkeye Freefall especially. But the industry's starting to come back slowly now. You know, Diamond, who are our distributors worldwide for comic books, have started up again. We're starting to get deliveries now on a fortnightly basis rather than on a weekly basis, just so that they can cut down on the amount of staff required and maintain social distancing rules and, you know, be responsible and so forth. So that's a really good thing to hear, to be honest. And we don't mind waiting fortnightly, and then we sort it all out. We, obviously with our pull list system we do in the store, we like to make sure that, you know, we can offer people the chance to do curbside drop-off, again, keeping, you know, a socially responsible distance away. We can post comics out as well. So the comic industry is starting to get going again, and, you know, we had our first delivery there last week. We have a double delivery scheduled for next week, which will be releases for the 27th, I believe. So we're looking forward to that. But there's a lot of big titles that could really, you know, make a big difference the rest of the year. You know, if there's things you're looking forward to, get on to pre-order them with your local stores. Release schedules are moving around a little bit, but there's so much to look forward to. You know, you've got 3 Jokers coming soon, which I have to admit, I feel so sorry for Jason Fabok and Jeff Johns, because that is a title that is like the definition of a premium AAA title. And DC in the last couple of years have obviously had their problems with Doomsday Clock, with you know, missing release scheduling, moving it from monthly to bi-monthly, and in some cases tri-monthly. You know, it became a bit of a running joke. But with Jason Fabok and Jeff Johns, they essentially said, we're not announcing the date until it's all in the bag. So they bided their time. Lots of fans were asking, you know, when's this going to come out? Lots of fans really wanted to know. They finally announced a release date, and then 3 weeks later, COVID-19 started being taken really, really seriously. Later than it should have been, but it finally did. And they had to move the release date back again, and now it's moved back to further in the year again. So, but yeah, 3 Jokers, one to really look forward to. Death Metal, Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo is another one that really, really looking forward to, I have to say. Deceased is an excellent title that Tom Taylor is doing. It's a really great world he's building there. You know, next week we'll see the release of issue 3 of Deceased Unkillables, which will be awesome. Really can't wait for that. Issue 2 was one of my favorite issues of the year. Then the Marvel side of things, you know, you've got you've got an event coming up soon called Empire. You've got great stuff happening with the X-Books at the moment. You know, I'm certainly more of a newcomer to the X-Men universe. It's not really something I've dabbled in before. And ever since Hickman relaunched it with House of X and Powers of 10, and then launched X-Men, X-Force, you know, Marauders, New Mutants, Hellions. There's a lot of content there, but it's all so good and really well connected that I'm really digging that as well. You know, you've got big indie stuff on the horizon as well. You know, Schneider's doing a great job with Undiscovered Country. You know, Kirkman's doing great stuff with Oblivion's Song. You've got a lot of good licensed properties. So there's tons of good stuff coming up. You know, we'll always do our best, certainly with this show, but also with our podcast and in store. We'll always do our best to keep people informed of what's coming out, but just make sure you get to your local comic store, get them to pre-order in advance. Over the next 6 months, a lot of comic stores are going to be very tight with their ordering. They're not going to be ordering a lot of things outside of pull lists. Certainly not while they don't have a store to put it in, but also even when they do, again, the footfall is going to be a gradual thing over time. So if there's titles you're looking forward to, I can't implore you enough, get in touch with your local store and get them to pre-order them for you and then keep them for you. I mean, the thing with comic collecting is as well, you don't always have to pick up everything the day it comes out. It is certainly preferable from a store point of view, but the whole point behind it is it means you're guaranteed a title, and you're guaranteed a first print of a title, and you're guaranteed it to be, certainly if you come to us, I don't know how other stores do it, but if you come to us, you're guaranteed at a cover price. Comics are one of those strange things where within a week a title can be worth 4 times its cover price value due to a first appearance or a big event, that kind of thing. It doesn't matter whether you pick it up on day one off us or if you pick it up 2 months later. If you pre-ordered it, it's cover price. So you stay away from all that nonsense, because it's one of the banes of the industry. It really winds me up, so it does. So that's another reason just to get in touch with your store and always get your pull list sorted, But what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pull up the release list for next week, just to give you a little bit of an insight as to what's coming out and what to expect. The week that just passed, again, there was releases in the States, but unfortunately they haven't made it this side of the world until next week. So that's going to be something to look forward to. So yeah, I haven't just looked at the release schedules, in terms of ones that just came out that Wednesday that we can look forward to next week. As I say, there was nothing from Marvel this week. They're slowly reintegrating themselves back into the industry. Haven't shut down their printers and so forth. But there's still loads of good stuff there from last week. Again, I'm a DC guy, so DC are continuing with good stuff. So they're releasing the hardcover for Batman Last Night on Earth. Great Snyder Cut Batman story. You've got Deceased Unkillables #3, as I previously mentioned. You got New Justice League there. You got Plunge, which is a really great sea-based Hill House horror title. You've got Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, which is one of the best series of the year. Great series from Matt Fraction and Steve Leiber. Dynamite stuff. You got some Red Sonja. You got some Dungeons and Dragons out. You got Ludocrats, which is something I'm looking forward to. New Kieran Gillen title. We have ordered a few spares of that. So again, if it's something you look forward to, get in touch and we can get you sorted with that. But yeah, with the next week's stuff, it's starting to take on a bit more of a familiar feel. Good stuff from all the big companies. Boom have some new Power Rangers coming out. They've got King of Nowhere #2. Really dug that first issue. With Dark Horse, I would say the standout for me anyway is a series called Butcher of Paris. It's the 5th issue, so it's probably a bit late to dive in if you haven't already. But Butcher of Paris, what it's about is a serial killer during World War II who essentially uses the atrocity of the war itself to cover up serial killing. And it's based on a true story. Been really, really good so far. The trade will not be too far behind. Keep an eye out for that. Keep that one in the mind. In terms of DC stuff, looking forward to new Flash. You got new Joker, Harley, Criminal Sanity. #4 of it coming out. You got new Suicide Squad, Tom Taylor's Suicide Squad, which has been great. IDW, you got a bit of G.I. Joe. You got Image stuff. There's a really good series called Mercy, which is by a creator called Mirka Andolfo, and she's really, really good. Farmhand, #15, again, the end of Arc 3, Rob Gilroy's great series. You've got Outer Darkness 2, based on a Rob Gilroy series, another one of my favourites. And then, the Marvel stuff, as I say, starting up with the likes of Amazing Spider-Man 43, you've got Avengers, you've got Marauders, Venom 25 is a big one. I have to say that Venom is our biggest Marvel pull. Donny Cates is doing great work on there. He's one of those guys that is actually doing so well that, as well as having our #1 pull, he's got our #2 with Thor, which is doing really great as well. So, so that is all the stuff coming out with next week. But yeah, I just wanted a brief sort of intro show just to sort of give you a sense of what we'll be aiming to do. We'll do different shows along the way as well. Maybe recommend different ways of getting into different characters. We'll, do different reviews as well, things that we've enjoyed. Maybe even recommend some classics from before. We really want this YouTube channel to be a resource. We don't want it to just be, me saying buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this, but we wanted to help people, educate them, because the comic industry, it's so large and diverse that if you're new to it, it can be off-putting, I think. And we don't want to do that. We want people to, be able to work their way in at their own pace, and find easy starting points from where to begin. So I hope you guys love this show. I hope you look forward to it. I hope you like it enough to subscribe to it, leave a wee comment. As I say, let's get a bit of an online community going. We are hoping to launch our website soon as well, and that's going to be, again, with the idea of online community, reviews, previews. There's going to be news on there as well, and then an online store. So lots of exciting things happening through Coffee and Heroes, and looking forward to sharing it with all you guys. So look forward to seeing you soon. Stay safe out there. Take it easy.